Hey, welcome back to another episode of HeroTalk, the mostly weekly podcast from Rooter Hero Plumbing and Air. I'm David, one of the hosts here, and with me here is
Cat.
and together we're on the
attack. I love that.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic. So, it's
So-
summer.
Summer's here.
Officially, it is summer. It has been summer for about a week.
And you can feel the difference.
You can. It was like that.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was in the 60s here in LA County. And then, one day, it decided to be like 85.
It was like, summer's here.
It's like, hey, I'm here. What's up?
So,
And then it's been hot ever since. So,
it really has. It's really been hot.
how's your summer been treating you?
Very warm. Good week so far.
Good.
Good
Good.
week. I went to a Dodger game on Friday.
Oh, yeah? Did they win?
Yeah.
Oh, good. You're good luck.
Yeah.
Good.
They won. It's cool because on Fridays they have fireworks. So some people go on the field and watch it from the field, or you can stay in your seats.
Which has the better view?
Depends where you're sitting.
Okay.
If your seats are like where the fireworks are, you might as well just stay in your seats. Because
Yeah.
on the field you have to stand.
Oh, yeah.
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 But it's fun. It's a good time. And they won 3-2.
Look at those books in the background.
I know.
That's so cool.
Look at this one in particular.
Yeah. That
By
one's
David
cool.
Powers himself.
Yeah, that's me. If you're listening to this, as opposed to watching it,
Oh, true.
well, yeah, there you go. So, because it's summer,
Yes.
thought I'd talk about Stoicism with you.
Okay. Wait. How's your summer been treating you?
Oh.
I didn't even ask.
Yeah, same as any other time. Good.
Are you a fan of the heat?
No.
I hate the heat.
No, I'm one of those people that if they look at a beach, right, just glance at it. Could just be a picture, right? I walk away red.
Same.
And so it's like, my wife will be like, hey, let's go to the beach. And I'm like, hey,
How about we don't?
let's go to somewhere that's not the beach.
Got it.
Literally anywhere. Because, I like to appear at least normal looking at work for a little bit.
For a little.
And not just be a week of pain.
True. I'm the type of person, as soon as it hits summer, I can't wait for October. I love
Yep.
the fall season and Thanksgiving and
Yeah, fall is definitely
where
my
it's at.
season. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's, it's not too cold. Not that it gets cold in Southern California.
True.
Right. Some people think it does.
Fresh.
When it gets down to 70 degrees, they're putting on parkas and giant boots.
I think just because we want to wear it,
Oh, okay.
so it's like, this is finally the chance we get to wear it.
Well,
like, this is as cold as
makes-
it gets.
That makes sense. Yeah. That does make
That's
sense.
the only reasonable answer, huh?
Oh, so it's fashionable. All right. So, I don't know.
Alright,
But-
so Stoicism.
Stoicism. It's summer. It's time for summer Stoicism. So,
Alright, let's
Alright.
dive into it.
all right. So, before I sent you a whole block of text
Mm-hmm.
this morning
Yeah,
at like 7:30,
I saw it.
because I don't know boundaries. And have you really dug into or read about Stoicism before then?
I feel like I've heard of it in a philosophy class,
Mm.
but I don't think we really took a dive into it other
Yeah.
than today when you sent me that
Yeah.
long, very long. What is it, like paragraph, story,
Yeah.
mini book?
Yeah. So, because why do anything if you don't go overboard with it, honestly?
True, but
So-
I like that it was divided into different categories.
Yeah.
And different
Yeah.
questions. Made it easier to go through.
Yeah. It's, yeah. So, Stoicism comes from ancient Greece.
Okay.
And by ancient Greece, I mean like the 3rd century BC.
Okay.
So, that's 300 years before the year 0.
That's so crazy.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those philosophies that gains traction and gains popularity when things are going wrong in society, right?
Interesting.
Or economically, right?
Okay.
It got very popular during the Revolutionary War. Kind of waned after that, picked back up in the Civil War in the 20s, and then with the Great Depression, and then fast forward around 2006, 2007, right before that economic crash, it got very popular again.
Got it.
And because things have just gotten progressively worse year after year after year after year, it hasn't really waned
Gone
yet.
away.
Right. So,
Okay.
and I was first introduced to the concept of Stoicism through Tim Ferriss,
Okay.
who wrote The 4-Hour Work Week and other books, right?
We've talked about him a few
yeah,
times.
Yeah, him and Ryan Holiday, who Ryan Holiday writes good books. I just can't listen to the audible versions of it.
Why?
His voice.
Oh, it's actually him that does it?
And that's no slight against Ryan Holiday. Just like how I like Carl Sagan, but Carl Sagan's voice puts me to sleep. So I'm ever watching the original Cosmos, it's because I can't sleep, and I need.
Oh, and it puts you to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so it works out.
Yeah, 100%. So, now it was founded by Zeno of Citium, which is information that you don't really need to know.
Cool fun fact.
Yeah. So, and it comes from the term that means painted porch, because that's originally where they would meet, right, on a porch.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they had porches back then.
Cool little fun facts.
Yeah.
I like this right here, what it says.
Oh, it offers practical guidance for living a good life and finding inner peace.
That's what Stoicism is.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, it can be broken down, and a lot of people know this. Now, you don't have to say where you know this from, but the Serenity Prayer, right? It's God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, I think I was first exposed to that. Oh, I'm recording a podcast. I can't check my LinkedIn notifications right now. I don't have ADHD. It's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Stoicism.
But I was first introduced to that. I think it was on Seinfeld, right?
Okay.
So, have you ever seen Seinfeld? Peak 90s humor.
Yeah.
All right. So, you probably won't find it funny. Because you're one of those Gen Z people, I think.
Am I?
I don't know.
Am I Gen Z? I don't know what generation I am.
You should find out.
I don't look into all that.
Yeah, it's not important. It's like just about as real as like horoscopes. So.
Yeah, I'm not really.
Yeah, meaning.
I know what horoscope sign I am, but that's about it.
Yeah. I don't put any stock in that. So, the core principles of Stoicism.
Yes, let's dive into that.
Yeah. The first one is virtue as the highest good.
Okay.
Stoics believed that the ultimate goal in life is to live virtuously and develop one's character. They emphasize virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance.
And what does that mean to you?
Is be a good person.
Be a good person.
Learn as much as you can.
Okay.
Take chances. And fight for the greater good.
I like that.
So, then it goes on to acceptance of what cannot be controlled.
I like that one.
Yep. They recognize that there are things beyond our control, such as the weather, other people's actions, or even some aspects of our own bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
They taught that accepting these things and focusing instead of what we can control, our thoughts, attitudes, and actions is going to make them for a much better life, right? And then there's the dichotomy of control. So, Stoics distinguish between things that are within our control, like our thoughts and actions, and things that are not external events and circumstances. They believe that true happiness lies in focusing on what is within our control and not getting overly attached to external outcomes.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
and then, embracing nature and living in harmony. So,
Do you not like that one?
no, I think it's good.
Okay.
I don't know about the harmony thing, but,
Oh.
I think nature's pretty based. So, Stoics believed in aligning oneself with the natural order of the universe. They emphasized the importance of living in harmony with nature, which meant living in accordance with reason and virtue. So, the natural world and the observations you can get from the natural world vitally important.
Got it.
So,
From the four, which one do you think is the most valuable?
acceptance of what cannot be controlled.
That's my favorite one.
So, yeah, that
Something.
is.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
Go
it's
ahead.
just something that I always like tell my mom is don't stress over things you can't control.
Yeah.
Like that's something
Yeah.
I like live by because if there's nothing that you can do to fix it, why are you stressing over it?
Exactly.
There's literally nothing you can do, so why worry about it?
Exactly. So, let's get on with some of the practices that
Okay.
Stoics practice.
They incorporate.
Yes.
There you go.
So the first one is negative visualization, right?
Okay.
This is imagining the worst case scenario to prepare yourself mentally for that scenario.
And
right?
this is what they do?
Yep.
Okay.
And they develop gratitude for the present moment. That exercise helps them appreciate what they have and not take things for granted. It's there's an old saying. It's like hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Right? And if you can imagine the worst possible outcome of something, when that doesn't happen, you're like, oh, well, that was cool.
True.
That went better than I expected.
I kind of live by something similar to that also, but my thing is like whenever you feel like you're in a bad situation, I always think, well, things could be worse.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of similar, right,
Yeah.
to that?
Yeah. And in fact, if you live in America or any other industrialized country, you have it better.
Yeah.
Even
Exactly.
even on your worst day,
You have it better.
you have it better than the majority of the world. So,
I
have
agree.
some gratitude. So, after negative visualization comes one that's a little controversial in this day and age.
Okay,
It's
let's talk about it.
contemplation of death. Because here's the thing. Yeah, don. Here's the thing. Everybody and everything dies.
True.
You shouldn't be afraid of it. You shouldn't want to speed up the process, right? But it's a thing that happens. It's part of life.
It's the circle of life.
Yeah. So, contemplating the inevitability of death can help you prioritize what truly matters in life and live each day to the fullest. Like, most people on their deathbed, right? I apologize if this is a little dark,
Okay.
right? This is a family show.
Family friendly.
Yeah, I don't know many families that sit around and listen to us, but if you are,
Let us know.
yeah. HeroTalk family. Hashtag that. All right. So, on their deathbed, most people, an alarming amount of people, look back at their lives and be like, oh, I wish I had done this. Or I wish I had spent more time doing this.
This.
Or spending more time with this person. Nobody looks back on their life and be like, wow, wish I had finished that report.
True.
Yep. But contemplation of death is a big one because you're going to die. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, you shouldn't do things that hasten it. You shouldn't, do what was in the news lately. And by that I mean drinking the Grimace birthday shake.
I don't understand that whole trend at all.
Oh, it's my favorite trend right now.
Okay, we'll talk about that after.
Okay.
You can explain it to me after.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's just fun. So, the next one is self-discipline. Stoics emphasized the importance of self-discipline and self-control. They believed in restraining desires and passions that hindered living virtuously. So, back in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, a lot of hedonists back then, you know, taking pleasure in wine and other things. And the Stoics were like, this hampens the thoughts. This makes it so that we can't think clearly. And when we have too much of it, we're not living up to our ideal self. Right? They were like first century straight edge kids. So, probably much like today's straight edge kids. Yeah, they're straight edge until their friends aren't around. Who knows? So,
True.
That's no slight against the straight edge community. I love you. You make the best music. You know what straight edge is, right? Straight edge is a movement that came out of hardcore punk, and it was kids who rebelled against the system by not drinking, not smoking, not doing drugs, and not having promiscuous sex.
Until like a certain age, or just for life?
For life.
Huh.
So. And then and then they'd beat up people smoking, so it was fun.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Come on.
You're gonna do that at our shows? No, you ain't. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Like the most three famous Stoics are Epictetus, who was a slave, who then became a prominent philosopher. You can buy his stuff. It's on Amazon. If you get the really cheap one, I think it's like Dover Classics. It's like $3 for his stuff. So, and then there was Seneca. Seneca he was Roman. He actually worked for the Roman Emperor Nero, who is the one that fiddled while Rome burnt. Nero was. Fed a lot of Christians to a lot of lions, supposedly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Seneca was his advisor, and then Nero ordered Seneca to kill himself, which he did. So, as the story goes. But before he did that, he wrote a bunch of letters to his friend Cutius, I believe his name is. This is going off of memory. So, and those can be found in Letters from a Stoic, which is all of his letters to this guy. And in them, he's like, it's just really good advice. Like, hey, I know these people are slandering you in the Senate. This is why you shouldn't really pay attention to that. So, stuff like that. And
that was Seneca.
That was Seneca. And Tim Ferriss actually released all of his writings for free on PDF. And I'll put links in the doobly-doo, whatever it's called, show notes for that. And then, of course, it would be amiss of us to not mention the man himself, one of the last great emperors of Rome, Marcus Aurelius. So, he wrote the Meditations, which is basically his diary. And then after he died, people were like, hey, we found his diary. Let's publish this.
I think I read that in my philosophy class.
It's a good book. Depending on which translation you get. There's some translations that are incredibly dry and boring, and you can't get anything out of it because it's so dry and boring.
Interesting.
Yeah. Then there's other translations where it's like, this guy knew his stuff. So
I think we got that one where he knew his stuff.
Okay, good. So now Stoicism offers lessons for people of all ages, right? Encouraging us to focus on what we can control, cultivate and enforce and enhance our virtuousness, and find contentment in the present moment. So how can Stoicism, or why is Stoicism important, especially now, 2003 300 years after it first came out. Well,
That's crazy.
yeah. Stoicism is one of those philosophies that is like true. It's observations that people made 2,300 years ago that still hold true today. So, and honestly, you can utilize Stoicism in both business and your personal life.
I agree.
So, now, the first one is that we're going to cover is embracing challenges and adversity, because we all have challenges, we all face adversity, right? So, Stoicism teaches us to view challenges and adversities as opportunities for growth. In business, especially business, setbacks and obstacles are inevitable. It's like when you spend 3 hours editing a piece of content and it gets 5 likes.
And it doesn't go viral.
Yeah. Thanks. 5 hours.
Thanks, algorithm.
Yep. Well, I posted this a minute too soon. By adopting Stoicism, or the Stoic mindset, right, you can help develop resilience and see difficulties as chances to learn, adapt, and improve. Instead of being discouraged by failures, use them as the stepping stones towards success. So, and then, focus on what you can control. It's the fundamental teaching.
Yeah.
It's in business and in personal life, there are so many things that are outside of our realm of control, right? We can't control if an employee shows up, right? We can't control if a prospect spends money with us, right? We can influence it.
Yeah, you can do things to influence it.
But you can't control the ultimate outcome. So, by focusing on what you can control, your own thoughts, your own actions, and your own attitudes, you can make more effective decisions and avoid wasting energy on things that are way beyond your influence. So, next one is you can practice emotional resilience. And this is where Stoicism runs into a lot of false beliefs about it, right? So,
like where people disagree with it?
Where people misconstrue or misunderstand it. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you take the stereotype of someone who's really stoic, right? What do you picture? Right? You picture someone that doesn't have emotions, right? That doesn't let anything faze them. You picture either Spock from Star Trek or like a cow standing in the rain, right? Just letting it happen, not being affected, not showing any emotion at all, right? The thing is, Stoics, people who practice Stoicism, well, they're human. They have emotions. Humans are emotional beings, but they've learned to control
their emotions.
Yeah, they practice emotional resilience. So, I think we've talked about emotional resilience in another episode.
Yeah, I think we touched on it.
I think it was on the Hero framework, right? So, but Stoicism emphasizes the importance of emotional resilience and maintaining inner calm in the face of challenges. So, in business, this can help you make clear-headed decisions rather than being driven by impulsive emotions. So, making business decisions based on emotions is usually never a good time.
Yeah. I don't think that that's like such a bad thing. I think like they're not telling you to be a cold-hearted person, obviously. They're just telling you to like base your decision on facts rather than just emotion.
Exactly.
Which I think like in business, like you said, is a really good thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and that translates also into personal life because there's so many people that just base everything on emotions, and that it ruins relationships, right? It causes things like divorce, adultery, impulsiveness, gambling away all your life savings without your spouse knowing about it, things like that. So it can improve relationships by reducing conflicts, right? Having that emotional resilience, that emotional control, and allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively, which is why it's always good to fight over text messages and not in person. Because in text messages, you can write out stuff and then delete it.
You can reread it before you press send.
It's like, oh, I shouldn't say that because one, it's not true. Two, I just know this person so well that I know what will make them mad.
I can say that in a nicer way.
And in real life and face to face, you don't have that delete button or that backspace.
You just blurt stuff out.
Yeah, and because you're human, you know how to push the other person's button. So fight over text. If you get nothing else out of this today,
fight over text.
Fight over text.
And then you have receipts.
That's true. So, the next section.
Stoicism. Fight over text.
Yeah. Next section is cultivate virtuous character so that you won't even have to worry about what we just talked about. Yeah.
You don't even have to fight.
Yeah, you have to put great emphasis on developing virtuous character traits. And these virtuous character traits are things like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. By embodying these virtues, you can build trust, inspire others, if that's your thing, and make ethical decisions in business and in personal life. You have to act with integrity and treat others with respect. That is what's going to contribute to your long-term success and also the most meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
So, and then, practice gratitude and contentment, right? So, slow down, stop and smell the roses. Nothing really is life or death, unless you're a surgeon.
But we're plumbers, so
Yeah.
we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're not even plumbers, but we're a plumbing company.
Yeah. So, and then maintain a long-term perspective, right? And in one of the latest episodes, John was on in an impromptu, hey, let's record a episode type thing. And I was like, okay. And it was about short-term players and long-term players, right? Maintain a long-term perspective. Take a long-term view of life and success. Rather than being solely focused on short-term gains, emphasize making decisions that align with your values and contribute to your overall well-being. This can help make more strategic decisions, especially in business, and ensure that your personal pursuits are in line with your long-term goals. A lot of people live, if not day to day, then month to month. One of the sad things is, and this is for a different podcast, that the majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, right? And a lot goes into that, and a lot more than we can cover on this.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, and I've seen this in my personal life, I've done this in my personal life, they get paid, they live like a king over the weekend.
Especially that we get paid on Friday.
Yeah. And then come Monday, Tuesday, you're eating rice and ramen.
You're like,
and
not
the good ramen.
The packaged ramen.
The packet ramen.
Not the restaurant ramen.
Right. So now, if you're just hearing about Stoicism for the first time, I feel a cough coming on, so I had some coffee to quell it. Oh. That picked up. So, if you're just hearing about this for the first time and you want to, well, get more into it, right? Here are some tips that you can do, you can practice, you can execute on to make it easier.
Okay.
Right. The first one is read a damn book. Or you can have ChatGPT or Google summarize a book for you, right? If that's more your thing. Hey, I want you to give me the bullet points on Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It'll do that for you. Will you get as much out of it? Probably not. But, hey,
It's something.
it's something. So, study Stoic philosophy. Just read a book. You can start with Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, any of those. Ryan Holiday has a book called The Obstacle is the Way, and it goes straight into Stoicism. On our Contact Center Discord, every single day, except for when I forget, um,
It's
it's
pretty,
mostly
it's
every
pretty
day.
accurate.
Sometimes I double up on Monday because I forgot Sunday, but it is what it is, you know. Um, I post a page from the Daily Stoic, also by Ryan Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
But and then he also has a book called The Lives of the Stoics, which I've gifted to many people, and it basically covers all of them, and it's a good book. Um, Now, if reading isn't your thing, and for some people it's not,
Why'd you look at me? I told you I just finished my
I know,
first book.
I know, that's awesome. What you can do instead of reading is reflect on what you can control. So start by reflecting on the aspects of your business and your personal life that are within your control. Identify the thoughts, attitudes, and actions that you can influence and make a conscious effort to focus on them. Remember the Stoic principle of distinguishing between what you can control and what you cannot. And then, practice that negative visualization that we talked about, right? Embrace obstacles and challenges. Develop emotional resilience. Like any other thing, the more you practice it, the stronger it'll get.
And the easier it'll
Yeah. So,
be.
cultivate virtuous character. Um, Identify the virtues that are important to you and then live up to them. So, maintain a gratitude practice. We've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Seek community and support. I think that's true in any venture, right? And continuously learn and apply Stoic principles. It's a lifelong practice. No one's perfect at it, right? You're not going to find the alpha Stoic. So, because again, we're all human. We all have emotions. And sometimes those emotions get the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
So we're humans. We're impulsive. We're lazy. We'll always look for the path of least resistance. And there's nothing wrong with that, unless you let it get the better of you. So, I want to talk about one more thing.
Okay.
I know the episode's getting a little long,
Mm-hmm.
but that's fine. And that's a thing called fear setting, right? This is taking the negative visualization up an ante. And it's really, it's a really good form of goal setting, right? So
Like
especially,
fear setting?
yeah.
Okay.
So, and it's now one of the ways that I first heard about Stoicism was actually from, like I said, Tim Ferriss in a TED Talk he did. And in the TED Talk, he talked about his his personal life and stuff like that. And then he got into fear setting, and I'll post a link to the video because if you haven't seen it yet, it's like one of the most popular TED Talks there is. It has millions of views. That could be Simon Sinek I'm thinking of, but it has a lot of views. But it's a fear setting, as developed by Tim Ferriss, is a practical tool for overcoming fears and making difficult decisions. So the first thing you got to do is define the fear. You got to start by identifying and defining the specific fears that are holding you back, right? And this is best applied to goals that you have that you just haven't executed on. There has to be a reason that you didn't. So if that goal is to, I don't know,
read more books
or lose more weight or become fit, stuff like that, and you haven't executed on it yet, even though you know that you should, there's probably a reason for it. That's when you're going to define the fear. What's holding you back? What's preventing you from doing it? Right? Now the next step is to imagine the worst case scenario. So it's negative visualization on steroids, right? It's fear setting involves contemplating the worst case scenarios associated with your fear.
On steroids.
So go deep into the details and consider the potential consequences of taking action or not taking action. This step helps you confront your fears and gain a realistic perspective. So if you're, just as an example, let's say losing weight is your goal, right? Mm-hmm. What's the worst possible outcome of not doing it, right? Like usually an early death, right? Dropping dead in front of your kids.
Oh yeah, we're talking worst case scenario. I was like, whoa.
So stuff like that, having a heart attack at 45, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the next step is mitigation, right? Reducing the chances of the worst case scenario from happening. So explore possible ways to prevent or minimize the likelihood and impact of those worst case scenarios. This step empowers you to take proactive measures and build resilience against potential setbacks. So, and yeah, it goes into a lot of things that Stoicism is, right? And the best way of doing this is making 3 columns, right? Okay. It's the goal that you have, the fear the fear or the worst case scenario that's preventing you from executing, or what will happen if you don't execute on that goal, and then ways to mitigate, right? So it's a very, very powerful tool if you use it, right? So, but it allows you to, prepare for it, right? It allows you to do some risk assessment, right? It's like an action-oriented approach for it, and this, that, and the other. So, yeah.
It also gives you like self-realization, like you said, it could just be that you're lazy.
It could be, yeah.
Like, I don't read books, why? It's literally just because I'm lazy. But I'm learning.
Good.
And I got into it.
Good. What's your next book?
I actually have a bunch of screenshots that I looked into.
Oh, okay.
So, potentials.
Yeah.
I'll show them to you later.
Oh, show them to me now.
Oh. All right.
We got time.
So, one that I'm looking into. So the book I read was Tuesdays with Morrie, mm-hmm. and it's about life lessons. And I really liked the concept of those books. I actually started reading a different book after, and it was more like a love story. And I was like, I'm not really feeling this. I liked the life lessons type of books.
Yeah.
So I think it's funny that we're talking about this today, because one book I looked into reading is The Things You Can See Only When You Slow Down. And it's basically how to be calm in a busy world, and like to learn to take things one step at a time, and just little life lessons. And then another one I looked into was Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I heard that one's like, I saw that one a lot. And then I also saw The 4 Agreements.
Oh yeah, we did The 4 Agreements in book club.
In book club, was it a good book?
Yeah. At first I went into it thinking it was just like woo-woo BS.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, oh, okay. Alright, it's good.
And then I also see The Alchemist. I don't know if you've read that one.
I haven't read it, no.
Those are like the ones I heard a lot about.
Yeah.
About like life lessons. So I'm gonna look into whichever one my target has, and that will be the one I pick up.
Good.
But yeah. Look at me reading.
I know, that's awesome.
Because at the end of the day, like after reading all this, if your major setback is just being lazy,
mm-hmm.
like whether it's reading or like you said, like losing weight, or whatever your goal is, honestly, just do it. Like literally just do it. I know it's easier said than done,
mm-hmm.
but like for me, the way you said, start with reading 10 minutes a day, and then whichever one you can do longer, or start by reading 10 pages a day.
Yep.
And then I actually got into my book, and I remember one day I read 60 pages in one day, just because I had the time that day. And I was great. Like, oh, see, like, you can do it. Like,
Yep.
It's just finding the time, not being lazy, finding what stops you, and then stop letting it stop you.
Exactly. Exactly. The only thing that you should procrastinate is procrastination. Yeah.
Drop the mic.
All right. So, anything else you want to add about Stoicism?
No, I think it was a good topic, and I think I understand it a lot more now than when I just like read over the notes.
Yeah.
I liked this topic, and
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing to implement, and it's cool when we talk about things like this because then I realize I have been implementing stuff like this, but
Yeah.
you just don't know like the proper
Right.
methods that they're called and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the fee?
I'll talk about the fee.
Talk about the fee.
So the fee is very simple fee.
Very simple.
It's easy. All you got to do is rate, review, or share the show so we can make the show grow.
Yeah.
And one of our biggest topics on this show is growth, either personal or professional. So help us grow.
Yeah, they go hand in hand.
Yeah. And if you have any comments or anything, LinkedIn or YouTube
Or Instagram.
just reach out to us. We're fine.
We'll be there.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.